On this week's episode of the Hanford Insider, Rob will give us a quick community news update. Then we get the opportunity to hear from Vikki Cervantes, Library Director for Kings County, about all the great things happening at the Hanford branch, including the upcoming modernization project. And I'll be back with your sports report. This is the Hanford Insider for Monday, October 28th.
Welcome to the Hanford Insider, the podcast where we dive into what makes our community tick. From local stories and hidden gems to conversations with people shaping our neighborhood, we're here to celebrate, explore, and connect. Whether you're new to Hanford or a longtime local, this is your source for everything happening in our town, from events and news to unique conversations with people who make Hanford what it is. Thanks for tuning in. Let's jump right into it. In community news, the Kings County Commission on Aging is looking for additional volunteers. The agency strives to improve the lives of seniors that are 60 years or older, especially those who are isolated, lonely, and frail. If you'd be interested in learning about how to help, please call 559-852-2828. Don't forget to fill out your ballots and turn them in by next Tuesday. If you have any questions, please call the Elections Department at 559-852-4401. For fans of school marching bands, the month of October is commonly called Bandtober. Students are very busy performing at football games and band reviews. Hanford students have been doing well this fall. Just this past Saturday, the Hanford High Bullpup Band placed fourth in their division at the Selma Band Review, and the Hanford West Band placed third in their division at the Golden State Tournament of Bands in Clovis. The Sierra Pacific Band was off this weekend, but along with Hanford West, will be headed to Los Angeles next Monday to compete in a review at SoFi Stadium. Good luck. The next regularly scheduled City Council meeting is on Tuesday, November 5th. The Hanford Cinderella Project is collecting new and gently used dresses for the high school winter formals coming up. You can drop off your donation at Castaways Consignments or the district office across from Carl's Jr. on Lacey Boulevard. This has been a terrible week in Hanford for crime, school violence, and automobile accidents. Please continue to support the affected families and our first responders as they cope with these tragedies. Let's come together as a community and lift each other up during these difficult times. Here are some things coming up on our community calendar. Join everyone for the Thursday Night Marketplace Bash in the Civic Park on Halloween night. There'll be great food and music and, of course, plenty of costumes. The Marie Wilson Band will be performing. This is the final marketplace of the season. The park will then be flipped for the Winter Wonderland, which opens November 23rd. Tickets go on sale this Friday, November 1st. Visit HanfordWinterWonderland.com for information on this year's event. The Kings Players presentation of The Education of Angels opens this Friday night at the Temple Theater. For tickets and information, visit kingsplayers.org. The Dia de los Muertos events will be held at the Hanford Mall on Saturday, November 2nd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Hanford Fox Theater will be showing the movie E.T. on Saturday night at 7 p.m. Visit foxhanford.com for tickets and more information. As part of the Asian Experiences exhibition at the Carnegie Museum, there will be a Filipino presentation and dance on November 3rd at noon. For tickets and more information, visit carnegiemuseumofkingscounty.org. The annual Hanford Elks Hoop Shoot Free Throw Contest will be held Saturday, November 9th at the Longfield Center. Make your plans now to attend the Veterans Day Festival in the Civic Park on Monday, November 11th from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Next week, Margaret Cardiel will stop by to share with us about this great event saluting our heroes. If you have an event coming up and you'd like some help getting the word out, let's work together. Send your information to hanfordinsider@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get a complete calendar of events. It's great to finally sit down with Vikki Cervantes, who is the new director of the Hanford branch of the Kings County Library. She comes to us with experience from Porterville and Tulare County. Welcome to the show, Vikki.
Hello, Rob. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Vikki. Hanford is so excited to have you as the new director. Can you give us a little of your background and what inspired you to go into this field?
Gosh, that's such a great question. I love this question actually because I didn't set out to be a librarian. The profession found me. And I actually fell into the work. I'm homegrown in Porterville. So I was born and raised in Porterville. And I grew up using the library as a child. My mom would take us regularly to story time, summer reading activities, and just in between to get our minds nourished with good books. So I enjoyed as a child going to the library. And then Porterville was a small community when I was growing up. It's about 60,000 now, but the community when I was a child growing up, I had the pleasure of going to school with quite a few people all the way through high school. And I got a phone call one day after high school was over from a very dear friend that had been with me since kindergarten. And she said, the city librarian's looking for some part-time library aides. Do you think you might be interested? And I said, oh, I love the library. I would love to check that out. So certainly I applied and I became a part-time library aide where pretty much you're, putting books away and doing some routine activities when it comes to keeping the collection looking orderly and well kept. But I really enjoyed the public side of making new library cards for our youngest library patrons, the kids who get so excited about getting that first library card. And then, of course, the more challenging of library services, answering really tough reference questions. So I felt like it was a good fit. It was every day was a new adventure. And so I felt very blessed to have served the Porterville library community of all ages very early on, that I decided to set my course academically. And so I went to Porterville College to get my associate's degree. And then I did finally land a full-time job about 5 years later, after I had started as part-time in 1995. I landed a full-time job in 1999 at the end of 1999, and I became a library assistant at the Porterville City Library. And what that allowed me to do was really grow and develop additional skill sets in more programming. So I did youth services, programming for story time, programming for the young adults and teens of our area, as well as doing collection development for the youth as well. And then I worked the desk, still continue to make library card applications, and really be connected with my community was very fulfilling and just a great opportunity to serve. And so public library services is wonderful, and there's a lot of growth opportunities in it. That once I was done working on my associate's degree at Porterville College, I moved on to my bachelor's degree at Chapman University, which I was able to do as a remote student. They had a satellite campus in Visalia. And during that process, Tulare City Library, so there are two city libraries in Tulare County, that is the City of Porterville Library and the Tulare Public Library as well, within Tulare County. We are part of the larger part of a big library cooperative. In fact, the largest state cooperative geographically from Merced County to Kern County. And so I've worked with the same library cooperative since 1995. Merced County got added on a little later. Tulare City was hiring for a library manager. So I was at that point of growth in my career that to go over and get some supervisory skill set was high on my list as I was working on my bachelor's degree. So I went to go work for City of Tulare for 5 years and finished off my bachelor's degree. And then I started a master's in library information science degree through San Jose State University. And so as I was getting towards the end of my graduate program at San Jose State, an opportunity came up in Porterville in 2007. The city librarian had retired abruptly and created an opening. I was currently serving as a resident on the Library Board of Trustees board for City of Porterville. And I think I had been to like two meetings. They meet once a month. And I'd been to 2 meetings. And by the third meeting, we knew the city librarian was leaving to retire. So that created an additional growth in my career path. And I'm very excited about that. And shortly after becoming the city librarian, Merced County joined our library cooperative. So we have Merced County all the way to Kern County. What that means is that any patron who comes in to get a library card here in Kings County, or again, if I'm using Porterville as an example, they are able to use their library card in all those county pockets, Mariposa, Kalinga Huron Special District, Kings County. So your library card has a lot of use geographically if you're traveling, physically to go visit family or something, you're killing time for an appointment. The public library becomes very beneficial in that regard as a physical space to go to, right?
Yeah.
And so at any rate, we also share our resources as a cooperative. So that means that if I'm looking for a book on psychology of early childhood psychology and I can't find it here in Kings County, if it's not available or checked out or missing, then I can rely on the cooperative to help facilitate a hold in that nature to get me the material I need to do research. But it's also great for leisurely reading as well. I mean, we do start off buying a whole set and volume of series books, but sometimes book 4 will go missing. So it does have its benefits. And it gives us a larger opportunity when we're buying expensive databases too, if we collectively go as a cooperative to buy in. So we have an online homework service called BrainFuse that we just currently subscribe to as a cooperative for 2024-25 budget year. And then we'll be looking into doing that in the future as well. It was a service that was provided initially through state library grant funding as an online homework help back in 2007-8. And then the funding went away, and then either your budget was going to support continuation of that, and or you were going to need to let it go because online services can be quite expensive. But we like to work smarter, not harder as a cooperative. So it does make it very good that I've worked with the same library cooperative since 1995.
Yeah.
And then I'm just growing up in Porterville, small town stuff. So what led me to this new position as my colleague, Dr. Natalie Renscher, decided to retire. And it just created additional career growth for myself. 29 years in public library services feels like 10 to me. And I'm glad I can say that. I still have a passion for what I do. I know I still have a lot of contributions to make into librarianship as a profession. So I feel very grateful. I have been able, I don't know if you're aware, Rob, but in the city of Porterville, there was a tragic library fire in February 2020 that completely broke our heart to pieces.
It was terrible. I remember seeing it.
And two very young firemen lost their life, Captain Figueroa and firefighter Jones. And so again, the small community, the fire department, Station 1, and the library were back-to-back buildings. And then just right across the alleyway was City Hall. So huge heartbreak for our community because of our fallen heroes. The library as an institution, also a big heartbreak. But if you're home ground out of Porterville, the library was eventually going to be replaced. So the biggest heartbreak was really the loss of our forever heroes. So that was quite tragic because, again, it might have been the most historical fire in the city's history. But then we also went into the pandemic. And so then we had to, as a library division, we had some bit of separation where full-time employees were absorbed into other city departments to work on projects. And it did take a while for Porterville to get back on their feet for a temporary use library. So I feel very privileged to have led my team in Porterville through that tragedy and with the final result of opening a temporary library in July of 2022.
Yeah, and I know you must have seen some great opportunities here in Hanford at the library. What kinds of programs are you instituting, maybe things that you would like to see happen, and some great things that are happening currently? We see it in social media all the time. You have a great social media program about the different, we know you recently had the book sale and some other things, activities, classes. You offer quite a bit at the library. So tell us a little bit about your branch.
Yes. So here at the branch physically, we have operating hours Monday through Saturday. So, if you ever want to stop by physically and come by, great. Even better if you bring the whole family. So we still have all of the usual amenities that support your lifelong learning goals, which include, free Wi-Fi for you, computers for you, physical book materials. And then, of course, we have a very nice virtual library as well that can help you to facilitate those particular lifelong learning goals you may have. We do have Maker Mondays here at the Hanford branch and a book buddy program where we do story times as well and physical. And then, again, all those great things. We have Cup of Joe on Saturdays here. We just started a Cup of Jane what that means is that we're supporting our veterans that are in our local area to come together and really hang out and enjoy company of each other. I had the privilege of stopping by just a few months ago and meeting the group. So it's varied in age from late 20s to late 60s. I come from a veteran family, so I found that very heartfelt, and it was nice to meet them and really be seen, right? Because I have worked really hard to be seen in the community. I've done community presentations to Rotary, not just here in Hanford, but in Corcoran as well. And that visibility of the library is so important to me, as I know that Kings County Office of Education, wires their students with Wi-Fi to get at home. So they might be a competitor in some way, but I would hope that parents would use us as a vital resource for their child and early childhood development as they come in. And we do have kids' computers available that have learning activities on these computers in the children's area. And I think if you bring your children into the library for that social activity, then again, they will be exposed to lots of opportunities of growth of their own, like mental health and wellness for the whole family. To get out of the house, right? So get out of the house and do something. So very excited. Again, really lifting all of our branches off with early learning and really stabilizing that support from the community that maybe we lost touch of during the pandemic, right? Because we became pickup shoppers, we became getting door delivery. So we definitely want to change that landscape. And libraries are more than just books, we're people and programs. So I hope that everyone will take an opportunity and go to our website or like us on our social media platforms. And so thank you for asking me that question.
Yeah, so that's actually, I usually like to, when I interview people, I like to ask, what is possibly the biggest misconception of the library? With the advent of the internet and everything being so readily available, what's the biggest misconception of the library?
The biggest misconception of the library, I don't usually get this question. I usually get do you sit around and read all day, right? As a profession. Well, no, we don't have that luxury. I think the biggest misconception of the library is we have old content, right? There's nothing fresh and trending. And that is so far from it. We do, and don't get me wrong, we do have old stuff, but that doesn't mean that we're not constantly reimagining what services look like. So services to when you and I were a child, Rob, look very different than what they are today. And so I think digitally and virtually, we've been able to be expressive and really respond to the community's needs, which are different in every jurisdiction. So, keep an eye open, come and visit the library. We do not have an old card catalog system drawer where you pull out the drawer to look up for the book you would like to get. It's all at your fingertips and in a shared catalog with the large cooperative, as I said. And that catalog will allow you to look at physical material, audio material, or even, again, those virtual digital copies of an audiobook or an ebook, okay? So, yeah, but great question. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, and inquiring minds want to know, are the fish tanks still there?
Oh, yeah. Yes. So for the time being, the fish tank is still here. Since, the branch is getting renovated, we are unsure if the fish are going to make it through the renovation. And but that will just give us another opportunity to bring in something else that will be exciting for
sure. So you hinted at the renovation, and that's actually what we'd like to hear about. We would like to hear about some of the things, some of the plans that are being made for this big renovation and maybe some modifications that you're going to have in your services during that time.
Again, a great question. So I came in after the project had already lifted off to some extent, right in the very beginning stages of planning and design. And so was very lucky previous library director was able to get a grant award from the state library, one-time type of funding. This funding will not come around again in my career. And so it's for critical, that piece of it's for critical maintenance. And so for Kings County received just a little over $13 million to renovate the Hanford branch and the Lamar branch. And again, the grant funding from the state library is for critical maintenance. So that means that we're going to be making ADA improvements to the facilities from the parking lot in and inside the facility as well. Becoming ADA compliant facilities has always been very important to us, but now we can actually execute that. Also, upgrading our HVAC system, our plumbing from, it's dated, it's old, and really putting in that infrastructure that will allow us to continue to operate out of a county branch and move our services in a different direction to better serve our community. I know everyone's concerned. They think we're going to close and close off services. No. What I've come to know is that both communities of Hanford and Lemoore love their library very deeply. And we want to continue with some type of downscaled amenity for their use. So we are looking into having temporary locations for both Hanford and Lemoore. And so when those start to develop and move forward, we will make sure to have a transparent little click on our website so everybody can stay up to date on what is going to happen in this timeline of renovation, so that nobody has to stress out or to be overly concerned about where their reading material is going to come from or how they're going to be able to use computer access. And so, again, we are looking forward to that activity. For Lemoore's project, Lemoore, as you know, I wish I would have wrote this down, but it was built some time ago. So we are expanding into the space of where the grand jury was at. And so that in itself is a big accomplishment, right? To gain space and critically design around children's services as well as young adult services and adult. And then having space, a 21st century library model, if you will, of having a good use of space for the community to use, meaning that there's tables and chairs and study rooms for them to occupy, that the building is smart wired, and so that they can come in and use library services and not feel as cramped as it is now. Also getting the parking lot upgraded so that it could be more useful to our elderly and disabled patrons is a big feat for us to accomplish as well. Now, whatever the grant is not covering as critical maintenance, the previous library director was able to set aside funds in contingency to support these projects because the grant was written in 2021, 2022. And as we know, the cost estimates from that timeline to the California escalated cost of now has changed quite a bit.
For sure.
And so we definitely want to spend wisely. And we also want to, again, with those contingent funds, to also think about the other branches' needs as well.
Yeah.
So first Hanford and Lemoore. And in Hanford, the facility of public use areas will change again to incorporate ADA use and also, again, spruce up the amenities to be looking like a 21st century library for users, meaning small study rooms and collaborative work tables where, study groups could meet and have some space. And then, of course, some leisure reading space as well. So very excited about the two projects. And the company that we're working with is Four Creeks. So we are about, I think we're getting closer to a 90% design. Once we get to 100% design, of course, the Board of Supervisors will review recommendations and approve the final design that will go out to bid so that the workers can get in here and start making the renovations happen. So hopefully we'll be closer to when we reconvene services in the new year of 2025, January, that we'll be a lot closer to making any official announcements between January and first part of March, as far as any continued notifications that go out to the public, again, to ease their mind that library services are going to be available. And I don't know if you're aware, but we also have a mobile library called the Kimball. So it does move around in the area between Hanford and Lemoore. I don't think we've taken it too far out, but it is a bookmobile, and technology is also incorporated in that. So patrons can use laptops wherever the Kimball is stationed, and then getting out and routing that vehicle out is also very important to us during the downscaled time of library services. So we can't program 100% of all the amenities we have now, but we're going to downscale it to the best of our abilities, recognizing who our power users are and giving them some space that they can at least drive to, get out of the house again, and come and get that book series started, and whatever we can do to help facilitate, again, their lifelong learning goals is a big priority for us.
Well, thank you so much, Vikki. That is such good information to know. I know a lot of people have been wondering. They heard the news initially and haven't heard anything in a while. So it's good to see that, we're getting closer. and that you have an action plan in place to let people know what's going on. And we're very fortunate to have you here in Hanford, and I'd like to thank you for coming on the show and sharing with us. Can you tell us your website address and maybe how people can find out more about the library?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Our website is kingscountylibrary.org. And that'll take you to the website where you can see events that are happening. You could even poke into the branches and their hours. If you plan to take a road trip to Kettleman on your way to the coast, you can plug those little stops in for yourself. Also, you can learn more about the Library Cooperative through a link. Our Library Cooperative name is the San Joaquin Valley Library System. And so you can find out a lot more, again, if you are planning to take a road trip for the holidays and you're going to pass through Kern County on your way to Los Angeles, you can stop off at one of their branches. What's great about that is that if you did check out anything, you can return it right here in Kings County when you're home and settled in at home. So
yeah, that cooperative sounds like a really, really beneficial system.
Yes. Also, Rob, I would love to come back on and once we get things started to really describe and articulate the final design. And again, you might have some new questions by then as well. And again, we can help together. We can help inform the community, your participants who listen to your show. And so it was my pleasure to speak with you today.
Well, thank you so much, Vikki.
You're welcome.
And now it's time for Hanford Insider Sports with Eric Bentley.
It's been hard to find something on the football field that Hanford High hasn't done this season, but for the first time this year, the Bullpup defense pitched a shutout in a 49-0 rout of Mission Oak. Hanford High had everything working from the opening kick, leading 22-0 after the first quarter, thanks to a Corday Glass rushing touchdown, a Gilbert Garcia fumble return for a touchdown, and a Daniel Gomez touchdown pass. Another Gomez touchdown pass and an Albert Richardson rushing touchdown gave the Bullpups a 36-0 lead at the half. Richardson and Glass added third-quarter touchdowns to finish the scoring and trigger the running clock. Led by a high-powered offense and a defense that only allows 15.5 points per game, the Bullpups will look to finish their undefeated regular season when they travel to Lemoore to take on the 5-4 Tigers for the milk can. And you never know what can happen in rivalry games, so that should be a fun one. Sierra Pacific and Hanford West were unable to pick up wins last week, but one team will finish the season in the win column as the Huskies and the Golden Bears face off on Friday for the Clash of the Claws. And in water polo action, congratulations to Hanford High goalkeeper Josh Brabant, who broke the school record for blocks, which was previously set back in 2018. The Bullpups are 13-14 this season and look to finish out this week as they take on Mission Oak and Lemoore. Sierra Pacific Water Polo is 18-9 on the season and will wrap up this week as they face Reedley, and Hanford West concluded their season last week, finishing 7-14. We'd love to cover as many local sports as possible, so be sure to email any scores or stories to hanfordinsider@gmail.com. I'm Eric Bentley, and this has been your Hanford Insider Sports Report.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's show. If you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Hanford Insider to make a donation. If you'd like to join the Hanford Insider email list, stop by my website at hanfordinsider.com to sign up for updates. You'll also get an exclusive copy of my newsletter in your inbox each week. I also need your help getting the word out about the show by liking and sharing on social media or telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and YouTube at Hanford Insider. If you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com and I'll look into it. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.